my God!
My wife has an addiction.
Oh my God! Who sent me crab legs? Give me some crab legs!
We're in crab leg heaven.
All right, buddy, back-to-back weekends. You can't say I don't love you.
I would never say you don't love me. I would say you love me every day.
Only God can do it. Only God can do it. Hey,
Look at that.
Love
It's
you,
so
buddy.
good.
I'm
Thank you,
glad
buddy.
do. Now, no more crab leg. That's 2 straight weekends. So we only got a month left.
If you say so.
My wife has an addiction. My wife has an addiction.
Oh my God! Who sent me crab legs? Give me some crab legs!
We're in crab leg heaven.
All right, buddy, back-to-back weekends. You can't say I don't love you.
I would never say you don't love me. I would say you love me every day.
Only God can do it. Only God can do it. Hey,
Look at that.
love
It's
you,
so
buddy.
good.
I'm
Thank you,
glad do.
buddy.
Now, no more crab leg. That's 2 straight weekends. So we only got a month left.
If you say so.
Alright, man, that's just some straight folly. I want to first off start by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to my elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and salutation unto the Lord's elect. This the brother Yahweh. And as you can see in the video, man, our people are destroyed, man. They don't want to listen. Alright, and this is the problem. Because nobody speaks out against things like this, man. These abominable foods. You see the Christian, the Baptist church, the Pentecostal church, they say that you can eat whatever and you can be okay. You know, you can still, it's not about what goes inside of you, but what come, you know, they have all these, you know, reasonings, but ultimately the Lord doesn't approve of us eating these unclean foods, and it says so in the scriptures. So I'm going to bring this out. Leviticus 11:9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, and of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination to you, unto you. So it clearly says an abomination, and let's look up the word abomination right now, man. Actually, I want to bring that out in the BLB. And let's see what this says, you know, because the Lord makes it pretty clear that he doesn't want us to be eating these foods. But meanwhile, we still, you know, our people still continue to eat them, man. And this is why we're getting sick. This is why we're getting diseases and so on and so forth. And we wonder why. Abomination. Let's see. All right, so we're going to bring this out here. Abomination, let's see. Right, and this is it right here. Abominable.
Strong's H, 8263. Shekets.
So shekets, and you know, it says detestable thing or idol, an unclean thing, an abomination, and detestation. So it's detestable unto the Lord, man. And the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, has made that very clear. You know, he told us stay away from that. He gave us all other fishes that are deemed to be clean that we could eat. Meanwhile, our people want to eat the most unclean and nastiest shit. They want to eat the swine. They want to eat the crab. They want to eat the mussels. Okay, they want to eat the lobster. That used to be peasant food back then. They gave that to the peasants. And, they make something that's supposed to be trash, man, a bottom feeder, into a delicacy. That's what Esau does, man. He makes what's considered to be abominable by the Lord to a delicacy. And I'm going to bring out this milk scripture because this actually pertains to what we're speaking about right now. And we bring this out a lot, but, we're supposed to repeat things over and over again. There's an apostle, Graham Millstone, say that. And this is the book of Job 9:24. The earth has been given into hand of the wicked, and he covereth the face of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So that's Esau Edom, man, the so-called white man. And he's made these foods popular. He's made these foods look good and appealing to our people, man, all over the earth. And this is why they're getting sick. Like I said, this is why they're getting all these nasty things happening to them, because these foods are parasites at the end of the day. They're bottom feeders. They're supposed to clean the earth. And this other precept comes into this. This is another precept that we bring out a lot here at camp. But this is Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. Thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of Yahweh, I will forget thy children. So you're forgetting the law, man. And we can't keep every single law, to a T on this side, but there's some things that we can keep. And, eating these foods, staying away from these foods is one of them. I'm going to put it to you that way. Staying away from these foods is one of them. Sometimes we go into establishments and we can't help it all the time, but there's a difference when we're going and we're getting lobster and sticking it in butter and eating it with corn. We know that's going off. But if you continue to still do that, then the Lord's going to have judgment on you. But ultimately, man, our people, like I said, they're destroyed because they rejected knowledge. They rejected the wisdom of the Lord. So they're going off and they're doing their own thing. And, they're going to have to suffer the consequences of that for not obeying the law, man, not keeping it to the best way that they can. Because at the end of the day, the Lord wants to see effort. And we have to bring this stuff out, man. People might say, well, why are you bringing this out? It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it is a big deal. It's a big deal because you know what? You're constantly seeing people getting sick, and you know why. Okay, it's not just genetics. It doesn't just spawn out of nowhere. There's a reason why things happen to our people, because we have foods with high sodium. All right, and Lord willing, man, I might make another lesson. I've done it before, man, about the herbs, because the Lord made things with a purpose and a reason, man, and he made the herbs to heal, and we have to take that in conjunction with good, clean food, man, pure food, and not this detestable bullshit. Okay, so that we can prevent ourselves from getting ailments. So this is the book of Ephesians 5:11. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. So we're going out on here, making lessons and talking about this being off, man. And for it is a shame to even speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever thou make manifest is light. Wherefore he saith, awake thou sleepest, and arise from the dead as fools, but be as wise. So, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. So we got to be wise, man. We got to use righteous discernment. We got to stay away from these foods. The other day, I was with the family, and they, we were driving, we were running some errands, and they stopped to get food to eat, and I had to politely decline and say, it smelled. Because I've made it clear many, many times to them, and they don't want to listen. And you might tell your family members, hey, don't eat that. That's unclean. You rebuke them more than once, but if they don't want to listen, you got to just stop talking to them about it. And this is where we go into Titus 3:10, because this is scripture that comes to mind right now through the Spirit. And Titus 3:10, a man that is a heretic after the first and second abomination reject, knowing that he is such perverted and sinneth, being condemned of himself. So our people want to continue to eat these foods. They don't want to listen. They want to ignore you. I mean, I've told my family I'm not eating that. Then they still try to put it in front of you. Demons at the end of the day, Akim, spirits and demons. You go to a store, you ask them to not put pepperoni on your pizza, and they still do it, and they don't listen to you. And this is what we're dealing with, man, in Babylon. And this is why this place has to get destroyed and purified. Everything has to come into a proper order. you know, and when we make it to the kingdom, man, Yaharatazar, we endure to the end, we're not going to be having these unclean foods around us anywhere, man, at all, you know, and even the Edomites, man, even these other nations, they're not going to be having to eat these foods either, you know. We're going to go forth with things righteously and rule righteously, you know, and and you know, in order. You know, I had to, you know, they brought me, they walked in, they're like, oh, we're gonna go here. I'm like, all right, well, you know, I don't really like the smell, so I'm gonna go for a walk. And that's where the Spirit came on me to do this lesson, man, because I saw this yesterday night, and I was gonna do a video later on, and I went out, I was running some errands, and then, you know, come to find out that they want to go and eat these foods, and there's every single abominable thing you can think of, man, in terms of seafood that's there. Everything that's unclean: mussels, clams, lobster, crab, swordfish. Oh, it's just, you can't get enough of it. And even if you get something that's supposed to be clean, you know, they're cooking around the squid, they're cooking around the juices, and, you know, we try our best to refrain, but if we see it right in front of our eyes, man, we see the squids touching the tuna, which is supposed to be clean, or the salmon, which is supposed to be clean, you know, you're like, damn, man, even the things that are supposed to be clean end up getting defiled in some way, shape, or form here, you know. And this is why, like I said, Babylon has to get destroyed, you know. And this is the book of 2 Timothy 4:4, and they shall turn away the ears from the truth, and they should be turned onto fables, man. So they believe the lies, they believe that this is supposed to be a delicacy, this is supposed to be luxury food. You got premium crab, Alaskan crab, cod, Maine crab, you know, they make a big deal out of it, going crab diving and crab fishing, and it's disgusting. It looks like a rodent. It looks like a rodent. And if you go and you look and you take a shrimp and a roach and you put them together, they're the same thing, man. They're bottom feeders. They're supposed to clean up the waste in the ecosystem. Yeah, they're all full of parasites, Akim and Akwath, you know. Because, you know, most of you on here might not eat these foods, but there might be some, you know, brothers and sisters on here that are, you know, learning about the truth, man, learning under the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, and they might not know about this, man. So we got to speak about this a little bit more, you know. Very important to come back and reiterate to stay away from these foods, man, because